sees the means of production, and the like and subscribe button.
He already did back in 2017. He said he's going to re-up the tax cuts. That's not a secret. You have to say he hates you. He wants to cut these programs to save money so that he can give it to the billionaire class because he hates you. He doesn't care what happens to you. He doesn't care how much you suffer. He doesn't care about anything that happens to you.
People will vehemently oppose, and I think there are going to be a lot of Republican senators and congressmen, they've been grumbling under their breath, but who are going to have to come out against this plan.
And yet, they haven't. They were able to get the goddamn budget framework bill through the House when they have a 3-seat lead over Democrats. They are so lockstep that they were able to get that done despite the grumbling.
Which is unthought out, which doesn't look at the dire consequences to raising the cost of the American people. Also, they can give tax...
Also, unthought out? Who the f cares? Oh, well, at least a different Hitler would have dotted the I's and crossed the T's. What are you talking about? Unthought out? And I despise this insistence on their part of the idea that the moderate Republicans in the House and Senate are just yearning for the opportunity to break free of Trump, assert themselves once again, and everything can go back to normal. Once Trump is gone, everything will go back to normal. It's all the same party. It's all the same party. They're all doing the same things. Back in the 60s, Truman got asked about Nixon and told the reporter that anyone who voted for Nixon was going to hell. America used to be a real country. Republicans still do it. It's still a real country for the Republicans. You put a microphone in front of a Republican and you're like, why should people vote for you? And they'll be like, well, my opponent, the Democrat, is a and will go to hell and should die. And that's their answer.
Breaks to their billionaire buddies.
One bit of breaking news on the tariff front. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is doing an interview just a few minutes ago with Bloomberg, where he seemed to back off. Yesterday, he claimed that President Trump may be willing to meet in the middle with Canada and Mexico, maybe retreating now this morning from that, saying maybe some accommodation could be reached on
this is nonsense. Don't listen to this.
Autos alone, but we'll have to wait and see how that develops a little bit more over the next few minutes.
But John, you know
Go
what
ahead.
this says? And it's typical of all of Trump's speech. It is so unthought out. It's sloganeering. It's partisan. In many instances, it was nasty.
Oh, the Hitler didn't dot his I's and cross his T's. Americans, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? This hinge on the door leading into Auschwitz is squeaky. These clowns can't even oil their doors properly. It's partisan. Everyone look, look, look. Hitler's being mean. Stay moisturized, people.
You know, you got more truth in Alyssa Slotkin's response in 5 minutes than you got in 100 minutes of Donald Trump's long dialogue. And so they don't think these things out. So they say one thing one day and one thing the next day. But he said he's sticking with tariffs, and that's going to be bad for the pocketbooks of American families.
You called it nasty. It was like 4 minutes into the speech when Congressman Al Green was yelling at the podium and he was escorted out. What was going through your head as you heard the congressman yelling?
Well, look, the bottom line is lots of people are frustrated, but the best way to protest what Trump is doing what we are doing, and many senators and many
I might have to, and I'm not joking, I legitimately might have to just not say anything. I might just have to not say anything. You can read from that whatever you want.
Many congressmen are doing, and that is organizing against these horrible policies of calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme and then slashing
would you
people
rather,
in Social
would you
Security
rather
offices.
that Congressman
So here's
Green,
what we're, John, here's what we're doing.
Would you rather that he not yell?
Here, let me just say, the best answer, in my judgment, is to organize. So I put a call together last week with our activists. I thought 300-400 people would get on the phone. 3,000 people got on the phone. And what we all decided was we're going to focus our energy on the 6 Republican Congress members from New York, because they hold the key to stopping these horrible policies. As you know, in the House, all you need 1 or 2. In the Senate, you need 3 or 4. We don't have Republican senators in New York, but in other states there are. And the best way to organize and protest is to organize. Organizing is hard, but it's effective, and that's what we're doing.
Well, let me ask a different way. Would you rather...
I will say, I looking back on my career, I don't regret any of the electoral advocacy that I've engaged in. in spite of everything, we've done a lot of good. Progressive victory has done a lot of good. And I do think that had Kamala Harris won, the internal contradictions may not have been addressed, but it would certainly have been better than whatever this is, for right now, at least, you know, so on and so forth. I don't regret my decision-making. However, never am I more sympathetic to the anarchists than right now. The idea that any attempt to participate within this apparatus is designed to be a dead end. It's designed to waste your time. It's a labyrinth that you can prevail in the context of the labyrinth, but you can't escape it. There's one exit, and it's the entrance you took. You can get strong in the labyrinth, you're still in the labyrinth. When you leave, that's when you win. Now, I don't actually think that's true. I think that it's actually essential, especially in a nation that's as captured as this one, to leverage the attention that you get from within the labyrinth to empower yourself in the future, you know? I think that the strength you build within the labyrinth, you can escape it and take that strength outside of it. I think you can find a cool sword and shield and like a hat with a horn on it that gives you lightning damage on your melee attacks, and then leave the labyrinth holding those things. I do think there's value in entering the labyrinth. But at the entrance to the labyrinth, there are people like, I don't know, Zoe Baker being like, hey, you really want to go in again? And Zoe Baker looks at me, and I stoically remove my Kamala Harris 2024 hat, revealing underneath it the Joe Biden 2020 hat. And I remove that, and underneath that is the Bernie Sanders 2020 hat. And I remove that one, and underneath that one is the Hillary Clinton 2016 hat. And then I remove that one, and it's the Bernie 2016 hat. And then I remove that hat. And finally, I am unhatted, and I say, this time it'll work. This time for sure. And I go right back in there.
See Democrats more in line with what Senator...
And I immediately get flattened by a boulder trap. But you know what? That lightning helm is in here somewhere.
Alyssa Slotkin was saying, or more in line with what Congressman Al Green and people holding signs in the audience were doing last night?
Look, I thought Alyssa Slotkin, I chose her because she is such one of our rising stars from the Midwest.
Former CIA agent, neocon, defended Reagan in the level of just unimaginable contempt that you would need to have for the voters and for the left and so on to talk about her like that and not any other person, basically. He really hates you. And me. He really hates us. He really does. He really does. And his tie is not on straight.
Race knows how to talk to average folks, to working families, and she did a great job. And I think, again, the American people got more truth in her 5 minutes of her speech than with all the lies, with all the misconceptions, with all the things that were departing from reality. When Donald Trump's...
It's very important to remember that when I levy these criticisms against the Democrats, I'm not doing it because I am to their left. I could levy plenty of criticisms against them because I am to their left, because I disagree with them, their positions, their policies, their arguments. But I am just talking about basic political competency here. The arguments that I've made aren't about like, well, why aren't you in favor of Medicare for all then? Wouldn't that attract votes? Which, like, the Democrats could find a way to f that up too, okay? It's not about the policies or even the arguments. It's just about very, very, very basic read the room style politics, you know? It's like, yeah, it's the method. It's not even about me being to their left. I would still have every criticism I have offered if I was to their right. If I was to the right of Chuck Schumer, everything that I've said would still apply. All the criticisms that I've levied here, they would still apply. I think it's plain to see. And you can see this easily watching this. This is like a prophylactic against voting for Democrats. Like, watching this, it's so easy. Why don't people vote for Democrats even if they disagree with Republican policies? Watches Chuck Schumer talk on TV. Oh, that's why. That's how somehow people vote against their interests. There we go.
Says he's the greatest president after 30 days of chaos and hurting people since George Washington. Give me a break.
You, of course, were one of many Democratic senators who voted to confirm Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. We just got word this morning that Jim Sciutto and others are reporting that intelligence sharing was curtailed, at least in part, with Ukraine. CIA Director John Ratcliffe seemed to suggest that it had been curtailed, maybe now won't be. What's your view of that? And B, do you regret your vote to confirm Marco Rubio as Secretary of State?
Okay, so first let me say what you brought up just portrays one of the many, many problems, huge problems with this administration. They don't even, one day they say one thing, one day they say the next thing. I don't even know if the president knows what these folks are doing. So
What an incredible takedown. What a wordsmith. Do you ever kind of get like mind boggled a little bit at the fact that the job of a politician is to be popular and the Democrats have forgotten that? They're like the only people that have forgotten this. It's the liberal mind virus where there's a shift where in a democracy, a politician should be popular because that's how you get voted in. And they forget that because they get kind of used to winning in the safe blue districts. So then it's like, well, your job isn't to be popular because your victory is kind of guaranteed after the primary. In reality, your job is to be a competent administrator, a technocratic, manager of the affairs of state. And then you see that in full force whenever Democrats are questioned on anything because they bluster and they're like, I don't get it. Republicans, they break the rules. They don't make any sense. They lie all the time. Why do people vote for them? Well, because they like Trump and no one likes you. No one likes you, Chuck. No one likes him. No one cares. No one's out there wearing Chuck Schumer hats. No one's out there thinking Chuck Schumer's out there protecting their family. The most people like Chuck Schumer get are, safe district, establishment Democrats who are happy because they think he's like a competent suit and tie kind of guy. Okay, he's holding it together. Like they'll vote for him, sure, because he's like the guy. They recognize his name. They might be not that like tuned in really, but no one's out there wearing a damn Schumer hat. They've forgotten what it means to fight for your survival. They've forgotten the essence of politics, which is power and violence. And that all of these apparatuses are just ways of keeping the power while toning down the violence. All of this, the whole thing, it's the movement of billions of people and trillions of dollars. People will stab you over your wallet, okay? The whole point of this is to tone down the violence, keep it a bit civil, but it underlies the system. People will fight. They will kill. They will start wars. They will wage class wars to protect their interests. They don't have the hunger.
They talk about we're going to cut off intelligence. We're not. It's a huge mistake to cut off intelligence. Huge mistake. The Ukrainians need it. The collaboration between America and Ukraine has proven to be very, very effective. The one person who's happy that we might cut off intelligence to Ukraine is Vladimir Putin, this bully, this dictator who Donald Trump seems to be interested in finding friendship with, even treating Zelensky and the brave Ukrainians poorly. There are a good number of Republicans who agree with us, and I hope they will join with us. It's
every mistake layered. First of all, rather than critiquing Trump for being weak to Russia and kowtowing to the far right and fascists by betraying our ally, he says it's a mistake to cut off intelligence because the intelligence is good. He's morally presupposing the position, right? Rather than saying, Ukrainians are fighting to defend their land, their blood, and Trump would rather see them lose to Russia because he likes them, because he kisses up to Putin. Instead, he's like, well, great things have happened because of the intelligence. You presuppose what people believe, because again, he's locked in his own head up here. And then he defers again to the mythical good Republican, as he keeps doing. He has to be an op, right? I think that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are caught on a spectrum between genuine unintelligence and incompetence, and they are utterly beholden to the donor class, and the donors have abandoned them. They are priests without a god, right? Like, the ultra wealthy have all moved over to Trump. Not all, I'm overstating, but overwhelmingly. Schumer and Jeffries, their job is mostly being the point of connection between Capitol and their respective block of representatives. You know that, right? Like, yeah, they do a lot of work. It's a busy job, but that's the job. Engaging with Capitol, trillions of dollars. You know, I mean, they oversee so much. But again, Capitol's gone. They're not hedging their bets anymore. They're just there with Trump. So what's their job? I think that for Hakeem, it's more him being stupid. And with Chuck Schumer, it's more him being captured, in my opinion.
Them to curtail the excesses, the horrible things that the Trump administration may be proposing to abandon Ukraine.